Hey guys, this is Steve again, light into my path outdoors. Welcome to another little episode of our garden journal. It's March 13th. It's a Tuesday. We're blessed with a wonderful array of weather today. It's been in the 70s nearly all day. A few clouds, nothing major, but wonderful day in March. We got a lot done yesterday that we'll go over here in a bit. Today we're planting some more Swiss Chard greens, and we'll go over how we're going to put them in the ground. And once again, I'm doing this mainly as a journal for myself, so I just keep up with how things went. And everything I do is just what I do. It's not a tell-all session or this is how you have to do it, nothing like that. It's just mainly for myself, but I thought it would share with you guys. And there's many different ways to do all this stuff. This is just the way I do things. But thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We'll get right in the dirt here shortly. Okay guys, this is our little Swiss Chard patch. We put 8 plants in the ground yesterday, if you can see them sticking up. A lot of times we do a mix of seed and plants, but for the price of these plants, they already have a good start. I'm just going to go with all plants this year. It's $1.78, I believe, at the local place here for a packet of these with 4 little cells in each one. Swiss Chard, I've had a few conversations the last couple of days. A lot of people don't like. I do myself. Use them as a raw green in salads or on sandwiches. I like them cooked down just like you would any other kind of green. Just another thing to use, something different. These are actually called the Bright Lights variety of Swiss Chard. Tell they have little different colors and stuff in them. Just brightens up a salad a little bit. What I've got here in my bucket is just some warm water from inside the house with some Miracle-Gro pellets mixed in. Now, I'm not 100% organic, don't claim to be. The main reason I do things in an organic way is it's a little cheaper in the garden. Like I said, I have in the last video, I have my goats that fertilize for me and help out with that. And I only use this just as a start when I put plants in the ground. I do it with whatever plant I put in. It's cheap, and it gives them just a good base. Once again, it's just what I do. Not everyone has to. So all I'm going to do, find out where I want this first plant. This ground's already tilled. I just always come behind after I do that, before I put a plant in the ground. Just make sure everything's good and fine. Okay, all I'm going to do is pop this little plant out of here. A few plants actually in each cell of these little containers. And I like to work up the roots, break them up a little. They've been confined in that. They may be bottomed out in some plants if they've been there for a while. I work that up. Dip them in that Miracle-Gro mix. And any yellowed or withered looking leaves at the bottom of the plant, I just real easily pluck them off. That's just another thing that the roots would have to try to feed, and if they're already dead or pretty close to it, they don't need to be working on that. So just do that. Take out my hole, go to the depth of the potting soil mix that it's in. I just cover it up even. Then I'll take just a little of this water mix here and put it around the top. And on top of that, I'll just rake in some dry dirt. Usually I do have a cup in the bucket, but right now I don't, so I just use my hands. It don't take a whole lot. Just a good moist base for the young tender plants if they don't get any rain in the next few days to start their new growth in the new ground. Okay guys, right here is our little Swiss Chard patch. Everything is in the ground for that now. That's just a small patch. You can see my shadow. Well, actually, if I get in the right angle, stretch all the way across it, I'm not going to fool with it that much. Just take my word for it. But that will provide salads, lettuce, however we want to use it, for the whole family through the whole summer. The Swiss chard isn't like a lettuce or spinach and things such as that where they bolt in hot weather. As long as you keep picking it, it will keep growing. And you can store it, cook it down and freeze it just like you would any other greens. So you can actually have it all through the winter long. As far as freezing it raw, I'm not sure of. I've not tried that. But I will look into that before the season's over. I'm going to guess it wouldn't do too good that way. But while we're in this area, we'll show you a few of the other things we got done yesterday and over the weekend. No evidence of it yet, but in those two little squared sections right there, I have leaf lettuce and spinach sowed. Should come up within the next week or so. And this closest squared section right here, where you can see the little plants, that is a red leaf lettuce. Just add a little color to some salads and stuff. And in the back section, I have mustard greens sowed. They'll be up in a week or so. Now over here, these plants that you see, if you can see them for the way the sun's shining, are cabbage plants. And over there we have 4 red cabbage plants. Now, if you've never gardened before, go ahead and tell you, you're going to have this happen within the first day or two of putting plants in the ground. See how the leaves are laying on the ground? They look all wilted like they're about dead. Don't worry about that. As long as you gave them plenty of water and they're in the sun, they will perk back up. If you notice, even though the leaves are laying on the ground, that middle leaf is sticking straight up. It's doing fine. The other ones will be the same way within a couple of days. It's just where you're transferring them from the little starter packs into the ground, they will perk back up. Another thing you can't see is in between the rows of cabbage, I have onions planted. So they'll be coming up. I don't have a whole lot of space, so I take advantage of every bit I've got. And the beauty about this whole part over here, sorry about making you sick with the camera, everything from right there at that post all along to this corner that's in the shade, all of those are greens, cabbage, and onions. All but the Swiss chard will be gone by around June. We'll eat the onions, we can replant. We'll eat the cabbage, we can replant something there. Swiss chard will be here, and all these greens over here, the lettuces and mustard and such, when they do bolt, we can cut them, use them as feed for our goats, and then plow the remainder under. That'll just be extra fertilizer. So all this will be gone and replanted with new stuff by June. Put it all together so I don't have to make a maze out of my garden to do so. I mentioned the other day in the first video in the garden journal about when plowing, all that excess straw and hay that was on the garden from wintering the goats here would build up and pull my tines out of the ground, but at the end of the row it would pile up. Right here's one of those piles, and we're going to show you what we're going to use it for in just a minute. All you need to take that so-called trash that's piled up in your garden to make it really, really worthwhile for you and healthy. Good wheelbarrow, old pitchfork. Now you dig into this some straw. Shake it through your pitchfork a couple of times. What you do when you're doing that, you're breaking it up into real fine pieces. Getting rid of the excess dirt. And you just got real fine straw. Bring it over here and show you. Just real fine little slivers of straw. Now not only will that straw break down and help to fertilize your ground, like I said, this is what the goats laid on, walked in, chewed on all winter long. So it's full of the manure from them. As it breaks down, it'll also add nutrients and stuff to the soil. But there's even more good things that can come out of this. You get you a good load of this. Put it around your crop, plants, whatever it is you got, and it will act as a weed barrier, especially this time of year. You get this stuff down before the weeds start growing, they won't grow. It's like a natural fertilizing mulch, and it was all free. Before I go on about the benefits of this free mulch fertilizer I'm talking about, I know some are going to say, yeah, well, you got to buy food for the goats and all this, or you won't have that. And that's true. It is. But my goats are here for a purpose. They're not meat goats. They're not milk goats. I have 2 little small pygmies, and they're pets. So I'm going to be feeding them and everything anyway. Price of feed, they go through a 50-pound bag of food every, I don't know, 2.5 weeks in the winter. That's $10 a bag. I keep a bale or 2 of straw in the building. Main reason I use it is on really cold nights. Stuff the bed full, lay some around outside. So it's not that expensive, but regardless, that's money I'd be putting out anyway. When I say free, I mean I don't have to go buy mulch or a few bags of organic fertilizer or manure or whatever. I have that already here. Okay. I took the pitchfork after I put everything in the wheelbarrow. Just kind of stirred it around, broke it up a little more. So I got rid of the pitchfork. Just got a little old scoop. You can use a shovel, use your hands, whatever you got. And just kind of shake it around where your plants are. Doesn't have to be thick. And I'm not worried about putting it in between the plants so much because, like I said, in between these rows of cabbage, I have onions anyway. And there's another thing I use in between rows later on in the growing season to help keep weeds down that I'll go into later. Before I finished up and dumped this stuff out into my pile to use for later, I just wanted to show everybody what you get out of this. That is really fine, rich dirt, and all it is a combination of straw, goat manure, and dirt that was in the garden anyway. Before everybody starts flipping out about how nasty it is, you know, this is garden, it ain't a beauty pageant. I'm 25 yards away from my house. As soon as I get done here, I'm going to go wash my hands, no big deal. You'd never know what it was unless I just told you. It feels like dirt, looks like dirt, and the majority of it probably is dirt. But of course, there's some broke down manure in there, and that's what makes it good for your garden. Plenty of it. Now this has been on the garden all year long, throughout the winter. But I wouldn't have a bit of problem with taking fresh goat manure and putting around everything, because it's safe to do that. Now with chicken manure and things, other types, you don't want to use it fresh. It has a high content of chemicals that would burn your plants up. Goat manure is not that high, and it is safe to use fresh around plants. But like this right here, if you did have chickens or know someone who does, and they've had a pile that's been sitting there all winter breaking down, you could be safe to use it and it wouldn't hurt your plants at all. Okay, we've got the majority of what we wanted to accomplish today. We may plow up some other stuff there, get ready for our taters in a few days. Behind us, we've got our freshly mulched cabbage and Swiss chard. We didn't put anywhere we had things seeded out. One, because they're not up yet, and two, if any of you's ever planted greens, self-sowed them, you don't really need a weed barrier for them, because they grow so tightly together they take care of that themselves. Brought my little bench over that usually sits over at the pond. This is a handmade bench that a friend of mine made out of box elder. Really nice little garden bench, and actually I think he has a website now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's called ClinchRiverCreations.com. It's not a plug, it's just if you're interested in something like this. He does really good work, rustic looking things. and I'll show you a little bit better about it when I get up on this particular bench. But just wanted to talk a minute. If anybody's watching this and don't have a garden and don't think that you can, don't think like that. I don't have a lot of space. I don't think anybody that gardens is really happy with the amount they have. You might have 40 acres and wish you had 42. But there's always something else you'd like to grow, or more of this, more of that. But if you are in a city type dwelling or something, you can always do container gardening, excuse me. Even if it's just a few herbs or something on your windowsill, a couple of pots on your back stoop or porch. It doesn't take a whole lot to grow cucumbers, squash, onions, things like that. And nowadays they have the upside down hanging tomato tree pots, whatever they're called. And I've not used them myself, but I've seen people use them, and if that's the only option you got, then that would be a good thing to do. But gardening is not expensive. Don't let anybody tell you it is. It can be if you want it to be. I bought a new tiller last year. That was a good chunk of change, but I'll have that for hopefully the rest of my life. My dad's got a Troy built, which is what I bought. But he's got one that I remember him buying when I was 6 years old, and he uses it every year now, and I'm 34. So it doesn't have to be expensive. You may have some upfront expenses, but they will last a long time. As far as the expenses for what you put in the garden, if you can find a local place, do that. Buy your plants and seeds. You don't have to pay shipping for one, plus you're helping out a local business. And a lot of things, the price of plants is so low that it's just not even, to me, worth fooling with seeds. Now, the greens and the earlier things and stuff like that, yeah, I'm going to buy seeds. Onion sets, I use sets, some people use plants. There's not a whole lot of price difference in between the two. Tomatoes, I don't do seeds. I buy plants. You can get like 4 of them for $1.50. So, I mean, it's not a big expense. As far as your fertilizer, you don't really have to go to the farm supply and buy fertilizer. If you do just have a small garden or container type garden, just take the scraps that you have out of your household things, the kitchen scraps, and throw in. They will break down and help to fertilize. It can be expensive if you let it, but it doesn't have to be. And fertilize isn't always an issue. If you have good soil naturally, or if you're using the container type and you buy the pre-mixed soil that's already got the nutrients and stuff in it, then you're fine with that. Another thing to think about is protecting yourself while you're working in the garden. And I never really thought about it much in the past. But I'm not an old man. I'm 34, so I'm still young and spry. But I'm out here today in a long sleeve shirt on a day in the 70s, and in the past I would have never done that. But being out in the sun a lot, it can cause cancers and things like that. I've noticed just a couple places on my own self that weren't there before that I'm sure is because of the sun. Not necessarily cancers, because I'm not worried that they are, but they can cause things to come up. Protect your arms, your neck. It's not a bad idea to have a wide brim hat. There's someone in my family who has had to have precancerous cells removed from the back of his ears, and it's all because of working out in the sun his whole life. Thank God it didn't turn out to be actual cancer. It was just a little rough spot on the ears, and he went and checked it out, and that's what it was. It was precancerous cells from being in the sun. So protect yourself, just like in the woods or anything else. You don't want to take undue risk, and that's just one of them. I know it feels good sometimes to be out in the sun without a shirt on and whatever, but it's a good idea to keep covered up when you can and what you can. Well, that's it for today. We thank you guys for following us along in our garden journal. We hope you continue to follow us throughout the growing season. We're going to throw in other mulching ideas that we have. We're going to put out, like I said, this is for personal use more than anything, so I'm going to show all the things that I put out. The how they're all growing. We're going to go into harvesting, storing, whether it be canning, freezing, even cooking. Good ideas for fresh things out of the garden. So we hope you can stay with us throughout the summer and fall, and we may even get into some winter gardening this year. Thank you all for watching. Please add your comments, suggestions. Let us know what you would like to see, and suggestions to help us out are always welcome. But once again, thank you for watching. God bless, and y'all have a good one.
Will the circle be unbroken by Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Well, I told that